বলি
Brahmaputra, as mythology says, the creation of Lord Brahma, flows through Assam, the kingdom of the Ahom kings. 550 years ago, the great saint Srimant Shankardev introduced a philosophy based on Vaishnavism. His philosophy spread all over Assam through the system of Satras and Namghars. Shankardev was born in the Bhuya royal family at Nagaon, a small village in Assam, in 1449. He was brought up by his grandmother, Kher Suti, as his parents died when he was very young. This is where the Narua Satra exists. Under this 550-year-old silica tree, Shankardev taught his philosophy, which were in pustakas. The absence of vowels in the poem intrigues scholars till date. His birthplace, Nagaon, now known as Batadravathan, is a center of tourist interest in Assam. This signifies the continual importance of his philosophy. Despite modernization, political turmoil and religious compartmentalization, the relevance of his philosophy takes on a new dimension. The huge campus of the Narua Satra has been newly renovated. The Chinese influence is all prevalent in the architecture, painting and sculpture. The motif of the lion dominating over an elephant signifies the victory of good over evil. This huge lake, called the Akashi Ganga, is believed to be created by Shankardev through his prayers. According to legend, when the area was suffering from drought, Shankardev prayed, and the sacred lake came down upon the earth from the sky in the middle of the night. Shankardev brought in reformation in the field of art and culture. He was a musician and a painter, a linguist and a lyricist, a poet and a playwright, all in one. His plays and performances are still performed in this huge hall called the Namghars. The old and the young, the rich and the poor, irrespective of caste, creed or sex, still assemble in these local institutions called Namghars, which are under the head institution, Satra. The Namghar serves the function of a village school, prayer hall and a village court. The Satras serve the function of a regional school, prayer hall and regional court. Agricultural and industrial training were taught to the common people to inculcate self-reliance. Again, this was aimed at involving people right from the grassroots level into a larger social movement. Shankardev was the master, guide and philosopher of all these activities. He molded the basis of a great progressive and democratic revolution through the Satras and Namghars. The priests, who dedicated themselves to the feet of the Almighty, live in a small village attached to the Satra. The white-attired, soft-spoken priests are either bachelors or have severed every relationship in their lives to serve the supreme power. Other than performing their naam or chant in the Satra, they do all the other daily chores. They not only teach self-reliance, but practice it themselves. The social structure of the Satras was democratic.
Sham kanu duroi hoi na jaba Honar bahi godhai dim ghara.
The Satradhikari, or the head priest, leads the naam by lighting the diyas accompanied by the big drums and cymbals. The preparation of the naam, which is the method of concentration through chanting, goes on every day with great care. The prayers are for Ram, Krishna and Hari, all incarnations of Lord Vishnu, the supreme power in the universe. Garuda, the vehicle of Lord Vishnu, and the monkey god stand as Dwarpalas or guards to keep a strict vigil on this throne of God.
Bibhatsa hurir akhi jhure nirotini thane bhoila bago Bibhatsa hurir akhi jhure nirotini thane bhoila bago Kahaya madhava habe umuribo Kahaya madhava habe umuribo
Devotees and priests perform the naam 14 times every day. Through the chanting, they attain a oneness with the divine force. The central belief being a direct relationship between the divine and the devotee without any mediation. This is performed in front of the Manikut, the seat of the Almighty, which is covered by a red cloth. What is special here is perhaps the lack of any particular deity in the prayer hall. The throne signifies the formless divine force. This is Ankya Nat, a dance performance with a rhythm instrument called the khul. The composition of the dance performance and also the invention of the music instrument both go to the credit of Srimant Shankar Dev. Nine torches symbolizing 9 forms of bhakti or devotion. They are Shravan, Kirtan, Archan, Bandhan, Smaran, Dasya, Sakita, Padasevan and Deha Arpan are lit on the wooden staff called Agnigar. Srimant Shankar Dev is considered to be the first person to have introduced the idea of open-air theatre performances in the Satras and the Namghars. Bhavna, as they are called, are stories from the epics. People still show interest in these performances, as the wisdom contained in the age-old Ramayana, Mahabharata and the Puranas is not constrained by time. At the age of 19, Shankardev made arrangements and performed his first bhavna, which was called Chinha Yatra, against the 5 evils: Hinsa, Ghrina, Ninda, Dambha and Ahankar. It was performed for 7 days and 7 nights continuously, and after it was over, several Brahmin Pandits, including his own teacher Mahendra Kandali, became his disciples. Cultural shows at the Namghar inspire the people. The forms being that adopted from popular culture, people relate to the teachings portrayed in these shows more easily. Earlier, the color of the original costumes were muted with gold and green. But with the advent of modernism, they have become more colorful. Different aspects of popular theatre are adapted as the forms of presentation evolve with time to attract a changing audience. The performance of the Ras Leela, introduced by Srimant Shankardev, had Lord Krishna dancing with his gopis, depicting several small stories from his life. It is performed as a dance during the Ras Utsav in the month of Agran, which is in November and December. This dance shows Lord Krishna overpowering a demon called Shankasur. These exquisite pieces of wooden carvings of the 15th and 17th century AD are exhibited here in a small museum in the Batadrava Than. According to the shape of the wood, the artisans made statues of different gods and goddesses, amongst which the taller ones were used as posts of the Namghars of that era.
Shyam kanu duroi hoi na jaba সোণৰ বাঁহী গঢ়াই দিম ঘৰতে বজাবা ওই রামনন্দের ঘরে যদু তুমি আসিলা যে সৰু
This is the Padashila stone. It was used by Shankardev while bathing in front of his house. It holds the footprint of the great saint, and so it is considered to be the symbolic guru after his death. All the poems and literary works of Shankardev are known as Mochak or beehive. These were written on rectangular pieces of bark of the Sanchi tree. The bark was removed by a sharp blade, kept under the sun and pressed with a heavy stone to make it flat. Vegetable dye mixed with cow urine was used as ink. This Sanchi Patra, which is 550 years old, was written by Shankardev and shows that, like his philosophy, the colors on it are bright and the alphabet prominent even today. The rice powder is used for the preparation of sweets for the Bhogali Bihu. This festival is celebrated during the month of January. A small hut made of thatched roof is burnt in the shivering winter morning. But the chill does not seem to affect the enthusiasm, and the chanting goes on in a high crescendo. As the chanting goes on, we pause as the sounds of modernization creep in. Political turbulence is causing misuse of power. Science has replaced tradition. Yet, the sun, like a messenger of the supreme power, sets with a promise of a better tomorrow, where there's decline of justice and the rise of unrighteousness. I incarnate myself for the protection of the just man, for the destruction of the wicked man, and establishment of justice.